What's up, comic book fans? Anchor Pete's here, and I'm with my good friend Brian. How you doing tonight, Brian?
Doing good, Pete.
Oh man, we are super excited because we watched the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett, and we also watched the most recent episode of Peacemaker, episode 6. And Brian, which one did you enjoy more?
Oh man,
I'm gonna put you right on the spot.
yeah, I'm gonna say Boba Fett because it was just like nonstop action, like a huge action set piece.
Yeah,
It was like playing with action figures or playing a video game or something like that.
right.
It was very enjoyable.
Yeah, I liked this episode of Book of Boba Fett, and I think we should go into all the individual parts of it. And we're going to just talk spoilers just right off the bat. So if you guys have not seen the Book of Boba Fett, episode 7, then go watch it and come back. But before in our last episode, we talked about the idea that this might have been like a Mandalorian season 3, and they maybe changed it because of COVID or some kind of fan reaction. Do you think that this episode makes it feel like that?
I mean, it's to the point now where you would have to watch at least the last 3 episodes of this, which is about half the series, in
Right.
order to watch the next season of The Mandalorian. So
Right.
there's got to be something to that somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was kind of strange. The guy in Star Wars explained, he brought up this one point where it was like the very last scene of the show before the credits is the Mandalorian and Grogu versus like Boba Fett. And they could have easily just flipped those two scenes, and had
Yeah.
it end with Boba Fett. But it was just a weird choice.
Well, I mean, technically there was the after credit scene too, which was, I mean, I guess arguably could be either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like the way they transitioned because they kind of showed like Boba Fett on the ground, on Tatooine, and they kind of cut up into space. Like they kind of like went all the way up into the space.
Yeah,
And
that's probably why they did it for that
right,
kind of a transition. But you're totally right. It did seem odd that the show closes out with, the side character.
right. But let's go through each different part. So definitely Garza, who was played by Jennifer Beals, she was dead because at the beginning of the episode they're going through the ruins of her little bar, and it's all blown up.
Yeah.
And then
Although there were no bodies in there.
Yeah. So who knows? She might still be around. We have the people from the syndicate gathering together, the Pike Syndicate, and they're meeting with the mayor of Mos Espa. And the Pike Syndicate leader reveals that they were the ones that killed the Tuskens. Was that a surprise for you?
Yes, only in the sense that it feels like I feel like we should have known this earlier.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it would have given a little more weight to this overall battle than feeling more like an afterthought.
Yeah.
Even when that information is revealed to Boba Fett, it's to kind of get him to lose control in a sense and do something risky, and he doesn't. So it's kind of like wasted, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is it kind of reinforces the idea that he's just for the planet and the people of the planet, and he doesn't want any interlopers at all.
Yeah. Well, I think to kind of go along with your point, a classic scene in Star Wars is in Return of the Jedi when Darth Vader's trying to get Luke to attack him, and he starts talking about Leia, and he brings up this point, and Luke loses his shit and comes after him. And you have that kind of sequence here with Cad Bane and Boba, but he's able to keep his calm and still defeat Cad Bane eventually. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's kind of wasted in that sense. I mean, honestly, with this episode, there's a lot that I liked, but there are scenes where I'm like, okay, well, why did they make that decision? And why did they make that decision with the show in general? As far as like the pacing goes, like what you were saying, on another great Star Wars channel, Eckhart's Ladder, he talked about how all the Mandalorian stuff is good and all the Grogu stuff, but if you had like a lot more episodes to kind of flesh this out and flesh out the stuff with Boba Fett and the Tusken Raiders, that would have much more of an impact,
Yeah, I think they should have introduced the fact that the Pike Syndicate took out the Tuskens, and they should have introduced, maybe they could have introduced Cad Bane earlier too.
Right.
I mean, this heavy implication that he, was kind of mentored Boba Fett, which I think has been hinted at in Rebels, and I believe there's some like cut scene from some show that there was supposed to be like a battle between them, and it would be revealed that Cad gave him Boba that dent in his helmet.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, but it just seems like there needed to be more of that to me. They needed to establish and clearly state who the villains were a bit earlier. Like they did show the Pikes early enough, but they still seem to be like not threatening enough.
Yeah.
And I think if you would have showed them, like if you would have showed that they killed the Tuskens and framed the Nikto gang, I think that would have went a long way for the audience.
Yes.
I mean, Boba still wouldn't. I mean, maybe Boba did need to know too, but I don't know.
No, but you know what? That's a really, really good point. Like, if they had shown in that episode that, like, he thinks that biker gang killed them, but really they killed them, I think that would have really just kind of made it more serious, more dramatic. The audience being aware of it, but Boba Fett not being aware of it. And, there was another point that Eckhart Slider made, too, which he was saying that, like, you don't see Black Chrysanthemum for a couple of episodes, and all of a sudden he's in this episode. And there's all like a gap of time between when the Tusken Raiders get killed and this episode. So it's almost like they've kind of been forgotten a little bit. Like, obviously we remember because we have shows like this where you and I talk about it and stuff, but there's been such a long period of time on the show since we've seen the Tusken Raiders. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. This episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez. Like there's one other issue that they brought up too, which is with the actual battles, it didn't seem like there was like a lot of people involved. You just had like the gang and the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Black Chrysanthemum, and then you had these Pike guys, but it always just seemed like there was like maybe like 20 Pike guys tops, until those droids came on. And there were a couple of sequences where it seemed like they were like overwhelming, but in general, it just didn't have that feeling of like, oh my God, this is a showdown for the fate of this planet. Something that you would expect from Star Wars,
Yeah, I got vibes of like a Western, where there's like a shootout between a gang and like the sheriffs or something like that, where there wouldn't be that many people necessarily.
Right.
And I think it still kind of worked for me. But you're right. It absolutely, helps when you see that kind of scale. And the it kind of makes the threat a little more believable.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right with the Western thing. Like, it definitely felt like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid or something like that with Boba and the Mandalorian. Even like the shot I used for this thumbnail where the two of them are like together shooting up like that. It definitely felt like one of those like Wild West duos, like in a final stand. And I actually really love that a lot.
Yeah, although I am very tired of the trope that people can only seem to shoot the Din Djarin and Boba Fett's armor, and that's it. They can never hit anywhere else.
Right.
Like those scenes where they're getting pelted with blasts and it's only hitting their armor. It's like a little bit too much. It's like, it's like in like an X-Men comic. Like, this is a really dangerous villain, and the only person that's gonna get hit is Wolverine because he can heal.
That's right. Very good metaphor. Yeah, and I mean, one other thing that just got on my nerves with the whole sequence too is that it was just a whole bunch of sequences of people getting attacked, hiding behind things, shooting back, and then it's like, okay, well, they're shooting back, and it seems like it's dire. That somebody's going to come in. Like when he came in with the Rancor, I was like, okay, he's flying off to go get the Rancor. That's going to happen.
There was you couldn't have that Rancor come in and have that whole sequence with mentioning riding the Rancor and not have him riding the Rancor by the end of the show. It's just you couldn't do it.
Right.
Chekhov's gun.
Right. Boba's Rancor. And the thing is, though, is that like I really like that sequence. It totally felt like King Kong, right?
Yeah, especially at the after effects there too, when he was kind of rampaging afterwards.
Yeah. And did he kind of remind you of the Cloverfield monster a little bit too?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
But just the creature effects are so great. I know that like for that Rancor creature, the front of it, like I think like its upper torso, it's like a puppet, and I think the rest is CGI. and like it was really realistic looking, especially like when you had like the Mandalorian like going into its mouth, like I like that touch, that effect. It didn't look totally CGI.
Yeah, well, when it was moving around, it was definitely all CGI. But yeah, those close-up shots, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and even when like Grogu was up close to it. But we're kind of jumping around. I was going to ask you, when Grogu flew the X-wing, did that bother you, or what'd you think?
No, R2 flew the X-wing.
Oh, okay. That's true.
I mean, they made such a point as to have Pelimoto say, "Of course, I know the astromech did it." Like,
Right.
Okay. Also, I kind of laughed at the Grogu. What kind of a name is that?
Right. Man,
she
is just like this great character, like who's that again? That's Amy Sedaris. Yeah, you're right. Okay, right. Yeah, and it was cool that she even like showed up in that last battle, like in that little kind of rickshaw or whatever they had. Yeah, that was a cool little sequence. Yeah, actually, my heart, I got a little touched at one point, maybe even close to teary-eyed, when she's riding the rickshaw and the Mandalorian like pulls back the blanket and Grogu's there. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And he
jumps up.
Yeah.
Oh man,
so sweet. So, okay. I was gonna say though that pretty much everything I kind of expected to happen happened. I was bothered by the amount of damage that Black Chrysanthemum took, and like it kind of would be like, oh, he's being overrun or he's been shot multiple times, but then he would like get up and run. And I know that like Wookiees are supposed to be these incredible fighters and like extremely powerful, but it just kept going back and forth between him being like almost dead to like he's keeping up with
like
everybody
running
else
like crazy. It was a little jarring too, but I mean, I liked the scene where he seems to be getting overtaken by the Pikes. That was really cool. And then you see him come out later on. He's throwing them around. Like, that was awesome. And he's limping. Like, that worked. All of that worked perfectly. But, yeah, the two, like, main mods come over. I forget their names. And they're helping him, helping him up. But then they'll stop to shoot together. And then they start helping him again. And also, I can't imagine how they're actually helping him because he's so much taller than them.
Right.
Like, it's probably harder for him to lean on them than it is for him to walk on his own.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes when I'm working with little kids, if they're that small, I'm like, oh, it kind of hurts my back. Yeah. One of the mods is Drash. That's the girl. That's played by the girl from Yellow Jackets.
Yeah, and no, I know they've named her and they named that guy too. I just don't remember them.
The guy had this one moment that it like really took me out of it, where he like fucking spun on his heel. Do you remember that part where he like spun and shot?
Yeah,
that was like too much for me, man.
It's the costumes, because it's like they're like slick looking, I guess, and it still seems sort of out of place. But I'm getting more used to it, I guess.
Yeah,
as I see them more.
Yeah, and you know what? Like with this, I kind of sound like one of these like middle-aged white guys, like kind of complain about things. It's not that like I actually really enjoyed it. It's just, I always kind of wonder about the decisions because they've shown that with Star Wars, with the Marvel things, with certain DC projects, they know just how to do it right. And it's like when you start to kind of go off a little bit, it's like, why did they make that decision? And I think for the most part, I was satisfied. I just kind of felt like I could call everything that was happening as it happened.
Yeah, it definitely felt like they were checking off a bunch of boxes that they set up earlier in the season to get it done. And on one level, I appreciate that because I mean, I guess I'm ultimately satisfied, but there wasn't really anything shocking in this episode, and I still barely see like why this was a show. I mean, it was cool and all, but it's like what was why did they need to make this show? Like why did Boba Fett want to take over for Jabba the Hutt and then kind of not do crime?
Yeah, I think the main idea behind this, at least the way that I've seen people interpret it, is that Boba Fett essentially is kind of like born again after he comes out of the Sarlacc pit. And by being raised by the Tuskens and brought back to health, he becomes a different person. And he's kind of shedding his ruthless bounty hunter past. And he has like his own tribe of people now with like Fennec Shand and Black Chrysanthemum and the mods. I'm all for that. it is weird that like he would choose to take over Jabba's palace to do that. But I guess it's kind of like he's
I
like,
think
go ahead.
I really like what you said there. I think that makes a lot of sense and it worked really well. But the fact that yes, that they use Jabba's palace, that he negotiates with the existing gangsters there, it seems like it's like a weird straddling of a line. If it's like, oh wait, are you doing crime or are you a good guy or what? Like,
Right.
So it's like I wish they would have picked a lane, sort of.
Right.
Like, is he taking over a criminal empire or is he just being a good guy? I mean, I guess ultimately, there with the last scene you see with Boba Fett, it almost seems like he's the new mayor of Mos Espa.
Yes, because they fucking like Hag and like Garrett, the other mayor.
Fucking brutal.
I was scrolling through TikTok and I feel bad that my wife just heard me say that. I feel weird. You know, I was scrolling through TikTok. I'm almost 40, but I was scrolling through TikTok and someone had a little video where they just did little bullet points about the episode. And one was like, wait a minute, is the mayor of Mos Espa, is his name Mayor McCheese? Because his name is Mak Shaiz, right? Mayor Mak Shaiz.
Oh my god.
Right? Like, could you imagine like John Favreau and like Robert Rodriguez? They're like sitting there and like, what are we gonna name the mayor? You know, he looks weird. Why don't we name him Mayor McCheese? Ah ha ha.
Holy shit.
Now let's just give him a star.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's give him a star.
I'm assuming that's the truth now because there's no way it's not.
Yeah. Mak Shaiz, right. So what do you call it? I like that sequence. I like that Fennec Shand kind of had her own little moment right there. And ultimately I was satisfied. I was going to say though that there were moments that, you know, with Star Wars, especially the new kind of Disney movies, they start to introduce things that make you question, well, why were these things done in a certain way in the previous movies? And now they're done differently. And the example I'm bringing up is those droids that attacked them. Like those droids were like two of the most intimidating things I've ever seen in a Star Wars movie or show, right?
Yep.
They were like the robot from RoboCop, right? Ed, what was this?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And but the thing is, they had like they kind of looked like an evolution of those like kind of roller droids that are in
Battle droids,
Phantom Menace, right? But they were just
battle droids. They were called something else. They were called assault droids.
I think they called them droidicas.
Droidica. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I'm just ruining my, you know, my wife's attraction to me. I just was like scrolling through TikTok, droidicas, you know. I'm like, oh god. But anyway, I felt like they were like an evolution of those things, but their shields were so powerful and they just, you know, took out all those people easily. They were real formidable. If they didn't have that Rancor, they would have just taken out all the Boba Fett forces.
Yeah, I think that was kind of like the answer to not having like a shit ton of Pike soldiers.
Yeah,
really. Yeah. And it wasn't, and it definitely made it more interesting than just a standard shootout to have that in there. It made it more Star Warsy.
Yeah,
I wasn't bothered by the overwhelming power of those things. They looked a lot bigger than the ones from the prequel trilogy.
Right.
So
right.
It didn't bug me at all.
Yeah. And I mean, I really like that the Rancor took out one of them, and then like Din, he had the dark saber, and he was able to like cut through the force field. I thought that was a great touch. I think that my favorite part of the battle, though, by far, was the one thing I kind of didn't think about. I was like, oh man, I should have been able to call that. But like when Boba Fett goes to fight Cad Bane, and Cad Bane's overwhelmed him because he's faster. He's a faster draw. But then Boba Fett's on the ground. Cad Bane's about to shoot him. He's got his helmet off. And then Boba uses the Tusken
Gaffy stick.
Gaffy stick, right? Thank you. And I just wasn't expecting that. I thought that was a great way to kind of tie everything up. I thought that was really great.
Yeah, it was definitely a nice way to connect, as you said, the new Boba Fett to ending the conflict. Yeah.
And you know, it's sad that like Cad Bane died because I think it'd be cool to see like that live action version of him again, but he's from the Clone Wars, so like you could stick him into any story between the Clone Wars and now.
Is he dead?
Is he dead? He had a little beep going on right on his chest.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, that's got to mean something. There's no way. I thought he was going to explode or something like that. But the way they cut away from it, there's no way that he's completely gone. And I think that this show would have benefited with more of his presence, more of a personal connection with between him and Boba Fett. And I think that maybe they can flesh that out in flashback still or not, but I think if this continues, they owe it to the audience to give us more of that.
Yeah. That would be cool if they had like flashbacks. I know that the guy that played Boba Fett as a kid, he's been itching to kind of get back into Star Wars and play Boba Fett again. So you could have some cool flashbacks between him and Cad Bane. I'd actually really like to see that.
Yeah.
Wait.
Tamora Morrison has a kid that wants to play Boba Fett, or are you talking about like Daniel? Is it Daniel Logan?
I believe that's his name. Yeah. Like essentially with all the clones and Boba Fett, right? There's like the little kid Boba Fett. There's Jango Fett. That's Tamara Morrison. And then there was even like an in-between guy. But the kid one is the one you're saying.
Yeah. I could imagine him coming back for a flash. I think they even credited him with the flashbacks of the Slave One ship taking off.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, but see, like you mentioned Slave One, I was thinking like, okay, story-wise, if I'm going to be like one of these nerd guys, if Boba Fett had just taken Slave One and like flown it into the city, he could have just shot all those fucking pipe guys. He could have got rid of those droids, right? But
yeah, you can. I think you can argue that away. Well, I guess maybe you can also counter argue it, but you can argue the way that he doesn't want to destroy the town.
Okay,
but they totally destroyed the town.
Right. Oh yeah.
Freaking Rancor running around.
Yeah. They fucked that town up. It was very much like King Kong. There was even a part where like he's climbing the side of a building.
The tower.
Right. Yeah. So I was a big fan of it though. I would watch another season of the Book of Boba Fett easily. It's made me just realize how much I love the Mandalorian and Grogu. I think everyone feels that way though.
Yeah. I think I was really. I think the only episode of the show that I wasn't too crazy about was the first one.
Okay.
And I've at least enjoyed everything else after that. I still think it was kind of weird to have like a whole sidebar with the two penultimate episodes to be not about Boba Fett. But I would definitely come back for more.
Okay. Well, then, you know me, whenever we have a wrap up of a show or something like this, I like to do a ranking. We don't have to rank the episodes, but can you tell me what was your favorite episode of the show then?
Oh, easily the one with the Mandalorian 5.
Oh, okay.
Easily.
Okay. I got a controversial pick then.
Okay.
I'm going to go along with Danny's friend, where it was like the 50 best minutes of his life. I think that
Number
episode.
2.
Yes. I think when they did the train heist, just seeing that cool Tusken warrior on the train and taking those people out, I felt like that was the show being the most original and doing something different.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I just the feeling that I got, like I kept saying, had the Mandalorian stolen Boba Fett's thunder, and like that episode has confirmed it for me. It's like I want to see the Mandalorian the most out of all the stuff coming out. So
right.
I think that was, and there was so much lore in that episode too. And I'm a sucker for that.
Oh, I know you are. Yeah, just like me. Yeah, I know that. Like I've definitely seen a lot of memes about this show, and one of them was that classic meme where the guy's with his girlfriend, and he's kind of turning and checking out the other girl, and so it's like the guy is with Boba Fett, but he's turning and looking at the Mandalorian.
Yeah,
love that. I wanted to say one last point about it before we moved on. That they've reached this kind of point where it's essentially 5 years after Return of the Jedi. It's before all the sequel movies. It's in this kind of sweet spot where you can kind of do anything. Obviously, you can't kill off certain characters that are in the sequel trilogy, but I feel like you could do so much with like the world building and stuff like that. And I think they are going to kind of milk this time period now, and I'm all for that.
I think they have to because they're not going to go past the sequel trilogy because they don't know if they want to return to a movie watch or not. I have a feeling that if they do, it's not going to be for a long time.
Yep.
They're going to go to the whole other High Republic time period, or even before that. for whatever their next movies will be. I think they're going to milk this. I think they have plenty of space still. It's it is going to have to run out at some point, though. I mean, because there's not that much time.
Yeah, but it's weird though, right? Because if you look at like the Star Wars comics, they're only up to like that time period in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and like they have been doing Star Wars comics pretty much since Disney bought Star Wars. So they've done years of comics, and it's just been all that kind of Empire time,
Yeah, I feel like they can get away with that better with comics because it is just drawing and
right.
And like Marvel and DC do, how they stretch out real time and over years.
Right.
But when you're talking about live action, I think they're limited here because there's going to be a point, just like with the Arrowverse on the CW, like the namesake of the Arrowverse left.
Right.
So eventually, like, Pedro Pascal has been like, okay, I have had enough of no one seeing my face.
Right.
So, and then they're going to have to, move on at some point. So I think it's really cool that this time period exists and they're doing stuff in there, but being that it's a lot, they're doing it with live action. I think it puts a real world timestamp on it based on the, all the players involved in it.
That's a very, very good point. And I think that like you're making a comparison between the comics and the shows and stuff and live action stuff. With the comics also, even though they are Star Wars, that's still a much smaller audience than a show like this, which, comics probably have like hundreds of thousands of people buying a comic at tops. This has millions of viewers. And so obviously it costs much more money to make the show and stuff than it does to make a comic. So yeah, they just have to deliver a different type of story. And I think you're absolutely right. They will eventually run out of that type of story. So, but one good thing is that the expanded universe of Star Wars that they had for so long did kind of fill in the gaps between like the prequels and the original trilogy, and they did stuff after the original trilogy, and they always were able to kind of make existing stuff better. Like they always kind of made the lore better. And I feel like with this show and other stuff moving forward, they're going to elevate the sequel trilogy and the flaws that has.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so too. I mean, I know the sequels are very divisive, just as the prequels were. So yeah, to see them enhance that in any way and retcon things to make weird decisions better. I'm all for it.
Nice. Well, we got real fucking serious for that fucking Boba Fett show. Now it's maybe time to loosen up our belt buckles, get a little fucking HBO Max over here, huh?
Let's do it.
Start, talking about balls and stuff. I actually don't think they talk about balls in Peacemaker at all this episode.
Vaginas.
Okay, yes. They do mention vaginas. That's true.
Which was really funny because it's like that opening scene because we all knew that Murn wasn't going to kill Adebayo.
Right.
So, but it's funny that they're talking about it's like he's saying like I found the worst person that I could find to take over, like and then he's like, oh yeah, she's the queen because she has a vagina.
Right.
Like that's all within this like a minute span.
Right. Yeah, they're back to that fucking, just making jokes on the fly kind of stuff. And it's James Gunn directing it once again. Is that the first scene? I thought the first scene was with the kids in the school.
Okay, yes. I'm sorry. Yes, that is the... Wait a minute.
Right.
Okay, well, either way, it's that scene, they throw some real heavy stuff at you, like a real heavy line like that.
Yeah.
About having, the butterfly saying like he experiences the original Murn's like horrible thoughts constantly.
Right.
And all that. And he feels guilt about killing someone.
Right.
And then it's like, oh yeah, she's the queen because she has a vagina. like it's all in the same breath,
Yes. I mean, this show is just fucking great. I mean, it demonstrates how great James Gunn is, right? Because this had such a disturbing sequence that was also simultaneously so fun, maybe we could just jump that. Yeah, we could just jump that sequence real quick, and then we'll go through all the rest of the episode. But
sure.
that's the part that really stuck out to me is when the butterflies go and take over that whole police station, and it's intercut with Peacemaker's dad, Robert Patrick, and he's like in a bed with like a skinhead that's naked. That was really weird.
He called it. He said he's going to call a broad over.
Yes, that's true. I just wasn't expecting a bald broad, you know?
I mean, he's a white power Nazi kind of dude. I mean, why not?
That was like full on like American History X type imagery in that part.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. With all the hoods and the saluting and all that. Yeah, it's creepy. It's almost jarring to still see, because I feel like that they're you don't see stuff like that as much. I think it's a lot riskier to show stuff like that, even though these are villainous people and we're showing them in a negative light. It's still, I'm still surprised to see it.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting that, like, with Marvel, for example, this dominant comic book presence, they have a organization that was born out of the Nazi Party, Hydra, and yet they kind of have always just avoided any of that kind of Nazi imagery. Even in freaking Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it's more like we're against, I mean, not Winter Soldier, First Avenger. It's more like Hydra's the enemy, not the Nazis,
Yeah.
So
I mean, you also have to consider too, like the real world implications of it. They, the Nazis were real people, but they're also, German people that are not like that, and it's like, how do you hold that over people's heads forever? Sort of,
Yeah.
When they're generations apart, where they have no connection to it whatsoever,
Yeah. It's a real kind of risky thing to embrace. And I think the comics in Marvel, they do more stuff with the Nazi stuff in Hydra than they do in any of the MCU stuff. But here in the show, they're just going full blown like, KKK. That was the craziest part too, is they had these like KKK type hoods, but they were shaped like the friggin' white dragon, right? Yeah. So we kind of jumped right to that great part. Since we're on that part, you said to me that you have seen Slither, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Slither is kind of this amazing movie to me because it really captures that kind of Channel 9, watch it on a Saturday kind of sci-fi horror movie. And yet it has some of the grossest fucking things that I've ever seen too.
Yeah, I mean that seems to be a staple of James Gunn, who came from the trauma world,
right?
So it makes perfect sense. It's like a high budget trauma movie, really.
Do you know that one actor that is in Slither that plays Star-Lord's grandfather? Do you know who I'm talking about?
Star-Lord's grandfather?
Yeah. Because Star-Lord's mom dies, right? And then the grandfather's like,
I mean, I remember what he looks like, but I don't recall him being in Slither. It's been a while since I've seen Slither. So
yeah, he's like the mayor of the town. And there's this one part where he gets captured at the very end and he gets stuck in this like basement where all the people are kind of like melting together. And he kind of has to, because he's being taken over. He has to like start eating flesh. It's like one of the most disturbing friggin' things I've seen.
Yeah.
Like I still think about it and I lose my appetite,
Yeah, I have to go back and rewatch it. And it's funny because I almost showed that movie to Brandon. Maybe I shouldn't.
Oh my God. Oh wow. Now you reminded me of Danny who showed his daughter Hereditary.
I have not seen Hereditary, but I've heard various reactions to it.
Yeah.
So
I'm still traumatized by that shit too,
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I guess the reason why I brought up Slither is because that sequence with the butterflies taking over people reminded me of Slither. That's just that kind of like real kind of gross, intense imagery, but then it's also like kind of fun, and they're playing like a cool metal song,
Yeah, and it's funny too is that when they did it to Detective Song, I'm like, holy shit, that was like brutal, because that was the first time they showed a butterfly going into somebody.
Yep.
And like I didn't think they were going to top that necessarily, and especially not so soon.
Yep.
But man, like that was a really long. That they played that like full song practically, and between the butterflies coming in and taking over, and then White Dragon suiting up.
Yeah, and it starts so cool too because she's standing there with all the landed ships. Like first you see the ships coming towards her. That in itself is cool. Then they land. Then all the butterflies come out. She's just kind of walking like Magneto or someone with her cape kind of flowing behind her. I just thought that was really beautifully shot. But yeah, it's crazy that like you had that scene where she seems like she's kind of feeling bad that they're going to take over. I know that you and I have talked about, are the butterflies evil? Are they good? Do you think they're evil now?
Well, I think Murn explains it perfectly in the beginning. Is just there's an offshoot that want to take over. They started infiltrating higher positions, and where their original plan was just to kind of find a new home and blend in, some people want to just take over. So
I see. Okay, yeah. So there's different groups, right? Yeah, that's a good point. I should have remembered that. Yeah. So like Goff, that one is like kind of their leader of the bad faction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes you wonder, like, how many of them are, would be on the side of Murn,
right?
Compared to Goff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna find. We got 2 episodes left, right?
Yes, 2 more.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, there's still so much to happen. So another thing that we learned in this episode was that Peacemaker actually was the one that killed his brother.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yes, he punched him in some manner, and it triggered a seizure, or maybe it just happened. Who knows? But yes, you do find out that he definitely probably feels responsible for it at the very least, and his dad made him feel responsible for it.
Yeah, and so I think that came up when he was talking to the kids, right? Like one of the kids was like, "Do you have a backstory or like
an origin story?" Yeah, I think we got a little flashback of it too. And it's funny because that was the janitor guy's kid too that asked it.
Oh yeah. It was cool they brought him back because I know he's in the opening credits and they showed him. I was gonna say that this show has, and we talk about this like every week, has really made me appreciate John Cena. And I think Danny said something like that on like Twitter or Facebook. But like I've always kind of appreciated John Cena, but I feel like he's like The Rock, where it's like, oh, there's way more to him than you would expect.
Yeah.
Like his comedic range, just in that sequence in the beginning in the classroom where he's like calling all the kids little nicknames, to all the way at the end where he's playing Home Sweet Home, right, by Motley Crue.
Yeah. So I think in terms of wrestler turned actors, there's in the current mainstream film space, there's The Rock, there's John Cena, and there's Dave Bautista.
Right. Good point.
Dave Bautista seems, I mean, although he's very comedic in the Guardians movies, but he seems to have taken a more character actor approach and even considers himself more of a craft actor than he would The Rock or John Cena.
Yeah.
And I think the Rock is pretty much himself in every movie. He's the same archetype, and I love that archetype. It's great, but it's definitely more in the comedic realm. And I feel like John Cena was sort of in the middle, and now he's kind of dipping his toe more into that acting side. With these kind of introspective moments that are sprinkled throughout the series. The scene when he first comes home and he's realizing what his life was, and he's flashing back to Peacemaker, what a joke, and then reflecting on his brother and all that, and then this just the expression on his face and this is perfect. It's great. He's sitting in a place, he has no home anymore, and he's playing Home Sweet Home, and this is what I have now,
Yeah. Do you think that John Cena was legitimately playing the piano there? I mean, it sure looks like it.
He was.
Oh wow!
I had to look it up right afterwards because and I also saw a behind the scenes shot that I guess they tested some other songs because there was some behind the scenes of him playing Bohemian Rhapsody as well, but I don't think that would have worked as well here as Home Sweet Home did, especially with the vibe, because I mean that's hair metal obviously, and Queen is not.
Right.
But yeah, he apparently learned to play the piano. He just decided to learn to play the piano in 2018 or so.
Oh, shit. Wow, that is cool. That was so well done. And it's like not something that you would expect from this kind of show. With these kind of shows, it always feels like everything is so influenced by pleasing the fans, giving the fans exactly what they want. Let's throw in this cameo. Let's throw in this reference. Let's have this kind of action sequence. And I don't think any fan is sitting there saying, I want to see a sequence where John Cena is playing the piano. But yet, like, James Gunn does something like that. Yeah. And I feel like that elevates the whole show.
Yeah, he's giving you something that you don't know you want, but you want.
Exactly. Very well put. Yes. So, Vigilante, last time we talked, you said that Vigilante maybe wasn't bringing his A game in the last episode, or like maybe his lines weren't written as well. Did you feel like he was back to his A game on this one?
Maybe a B plus game. I
Okay.
enjoyed the teal color questioning sequence, and like how much to follow two rules. Like I found all that pretty good, but like nothing. His best scene by far was the prison scene. Nothing's gonna top that. I don't think.
Right. That was probably the funniest part of the episode, where they're both just sitting there asking Goff questions. And it's like tapping on the glass.
Yeah.
And they're just referencing like, Close Encounters and Alien and E.T. I love that. I'm trying to think. There was one other joke that I thought was really funny. Vigilante says, he's like, do you notice that like you only have friends with creatures that can't talk back to you?
Yes.
Right? And
then he yells at him for interrupting him.
Right. He's like, let me just talking. Can I talk? Yeah. That was great. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to. Oh, it's funny because we mentioned Mayor McCheese in our Boba Fett discussion. In here, they reference Hamburglar, right?
Oh, yeah. No, wait. Is it the Hamburglar? Yes.
With
when Detective Locke is trying to give a description of the perpetrator, I think you just described the Hamburglar.
Right. That creepy guy that was working with Murn, who just like killed those cops in cold blood.
Yeah.
I remember that actor.
I actually. Okay.
I remember that actor. He was in a couple of episodes of Supernatural where he played like a demon that would torture people, and he's just got a very recognizable face.
Yeah, I think I remember him from that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I was very surprised that he wasn't a butterfly.
Yes,
and,
I agree.
And I'm kind of curious as to what the relationship he had, or why he's so indebted to pre-Butterfly Murn that he would be able to go to do all these things.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure we're going to get any of that information or not.
Yeah, I doubt we will. I mean, there's so much that has to happen with the next 2 episodes. And I feel like we're going to have some kind of weird confrontation where the cops that are butterflies are going to come after Peacemaker simultaneously as his father's going to come after him. And I think there might be some like crossfire.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. But they were saying that there is a potential for a Peacemaker season 2, right?
Yes. But it might be a while though, because, James Gunn has a full plate. And I've read some comments recently from the cast and from Gunn himself saying that, he recommends watching the next 2 episodes as early as you possibly can to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
And then the actor who plays Murn, Chakudi, oh man, I can't pronounce it. I tried. I really wanted to try, and I couldn't do it. Couldn't let him play. He said that he thinks that there's a very big emotional ending, and I think he thinks it's gonna send fans racing to the internet to find out if there's a season 2 or not, or anything about it. So I'm reading into that is that they absolutely could go there, and there will be a major cliffhanger.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That brings up a point that I wanted to say. One of the writers that I really love, his name's C. Robert Cargill, and he made this one point where he said that if shows, and I think he was referencing Boba Fett, are going to be on these streaming services and they're going to drop once a week, like old-fashioned TV shows, they should release them at like 9 p.m., like prime time when they come out, versus like 2 a.m, because then by the time you go online in the morning, things are already spoiled, right?
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, on one hand, I like being able to consume it as early as I can.
Right.
And having to, I really, first of all, I really, really appreciate the weekly cadence of releasing this.
Yes.
I like discussing it. I like thinking about it. I like it being forced to wait.
Yeah.
And kind of digest everything that happened rather than just, vomiting all of it at once. It's just, and having it all blur together where you don't even remember anything.
Right.
But I at the same time, I appreciate the convenience of being able to watch it on the day whenever I can, and not being beholden to a certain exact time.
Right.
I mean, I guess there's DVRs exist. I don't know. Do people even use DVRs anymore?
I use that all the time, man.
Really? I haven't had cable in probably, oh God, like 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So like it feels like ancient technology that's obsolete now, based on the fact that you can stream everything.
Yeah, well, I'm the wise guy that's spending $117 a month DVR and that shit. Got a DVR The Bachelor. Can't just watch it on fucking Hulu the next night or anything. You gotta watch it, that night, man.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, we're at a point where it's like, oh, you gotta have Netflix for this show, and you gotta have Disney for this show, and you gotta have HBO for this show, and you gotta have Hulu for this show.
Right.
Like I always try to have the mentality, like, oh, I'm always gonna have Netflix and I have one other.
Right.
And I'm just failing miserably because, I mean, before we decided we were gonna watch Peacemaker, I'm like, maybe I'll get rid of HBO because the day and date movie thing is over. And like I actually thought I was gonna get rid of it and just give up on not watch it. So I wasn't that crazy about the Suicide Squad. I liked it. It was good, but maybe it was a little underwhelming.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I didn't, because the show's amazing.
Shit, yeah. Yeah, dude, I would say that for me, probably my main streaming service that I watch is HBO Max. It goes between Netflix and HBO Max, but I feel like I watch like Netflix, HBO Max, and Disney Plus like constantly.
Yeah. I mean, I also have Amazon, which I guess is part of my Amazon Prime.
Ditto.
I don't really consider that as paying for it, even though I am.
Right.
But yeah, I'm using HBO a lot more lately because I'm watching this. I am in the middle of Raised by Wolves, the first season still.
Nice.
And I was watching something else on there too. I mean, I really do like the other DC shows.
Yeah.
I still have a lot more to catch up on them.
Yeah, and you and I, just a little spoiler for people, we're gonna start reviewing Doom Patrol by the time it's Peacemaker's over. We're gonna do season 3 and figure we're gonna do about 2 episodes each between Peacemaker and Moon Knight. So maybe we could kind of do a little catch up on the first 2 seasons before then, if need be. But yeah, I haven't even watched season 2, but I do love that Doom Patrol show just in the first season.
Yeah.
But I was going to ask you, do you think that one of the reasons why you like Peacemaker is because of that guy right there on the wall behind you? I'm not trying to freak you out, but like, I don't know why.
Oh my God, the colors.
Exactly. Like
shit.
Because I'm not wearing my glasses. We keep talking about Peacemaker. It's like, is that Peacemaker behind you?
Yeah, it's a really messed up Optimus Prime.
Right. But I'm saying he looks like fucking Optimus, right? He's got the red shirt.
Yeah, the red shirt. He doesn't have what color are his boots?
Aren't his boots blue?
His boots are blue. Oh my God.
Right. The only difference is that is he's got that silver fucking thing.
Silver helmet rather than the blue head. But yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Was there anything else that you had to say about Peacemaker?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. I hope that you are able to get through Raised by Wolves kind of quickly, because then maybe you could join me and Danny for our coverage of it.
I'm trying. I'm in the middle of episode 5. I'm watching like too many damn shows in at the same time.
Yeah. Have you watched that Arcane show yet?
Yeah, Arcane I finished. It was great.
Fuck. That's another one I want to watch too. Yeah. Well, I got Raised by Wolves and Doom Patrol and Peacemaker. I think that's it as far as like shows that I'm watching.
Then after that with Moon Knight, and then they also we should have mentioned too that they announced the date for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Right. Is it Kenobi or is it Obi-Wan? It's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. It's both.
It's both together.
Yes.
And that'll be May 25th.
Okay. Oh, look at this. I got a little comment right here at the very end here. Good old Mike Bongiorno, host of Pop Culture Man Children. Check out his podcast, kids. This guy has got good taste. Arcane rules.
Optimus Prime in that little thumbnail there.
He does have Optimus there. Here's a little side story, kids, before me and Brian say goodnight. I think I probably even told us on this fucking show before. But me and Mike Bongiorno were part of a magazine when I was in college called Serpentine. And what do you call it? Mike and I put the magazine together with some other people. And we had a little thing where you had to guess all these He-Man action figures in this cool picture that my friend put together. And Brian was the winner of the contest, and he guessed all the fucking He-Man people. You remember that?
Oh shit! Yeah. What did I win?
Probably something really lame. I don't even know if you won anything. Like they showed your picture and they gave a little bio of you in the next issue.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
I have to see if I have that anywhere.
Right. I actually do have it in my garage. So maybe next episode
Take a picture of me because I have so many boxes still, even though I've lived here for over a year.
Yes. Yeah, and you know what? I don't give a shit. We're just gonna divulge personal stuff in here. Not too personal, don't worry. No one's bank account or anything. But Brian and I used to be in a black metal band. And here's a little funny story right before we wrap this up. We're in a black metal band called Blasphemous Machine. And I played the bass and Brian played the lead guitar. And we did one concert in Brian's backyard, and there was like 80 fucking people there, right? So the other day, Brian, I'm at my mom's apartment, and she's got all of her stuff moved from Staten Island to Texas, and she takes out these VHS tapes that she found. And right there is Peter's concert, Brian's backyard. And I'm like, oh, shit, I'm going to watch this. Look, it's my life. It's my early 20s. This is a great memory. And then my mom fucking taped Broadchurch over it.
Oh, I was so excited for a second because I have pictures. I don't have audio of that. I have audio from like us playing the songs, but nothing.
Right.
I just have pictures from that. Nothing else.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I have the pictures too. The sad part is there's like 15 seconds of imagery and you can hear people's voices and stuff. And then it just cuts to Broadchurch.
Oh.
And I fast forwarded it. And then later there's just Pushing Daisies is just on there. And I'm like, oh, Christ. Just taped over like one of the best memories of my life. That's cool.
Oh, man.
Thanks, Mom. Maybe a butterfly will fly into her head. But anyway, I don't know what the fuck. We're off the script right now. Anyway, on that note,
the show before we ruin anything else.
Yeah. Good call. We're gonna end the broadcast. Anyway, guys, it's great to have you with us. Brian and I will be here next week to talk about Peacemaker episode 7. See y'all.